First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City!
And this was the Andy Reid special. This was the Andy Reid special we talked about. He was saving all day. He's going to fake a motion to go across. And at that moment, he turns and goes back. Hardman, who they didn't have, right?
Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. Some people say a little too much Tony Romo on the final call. That on the game-winning Super Bowl play, you let the pictures do the talking on television. Whatever. That's a hell of a game. It was ugly. It was ugly. I'm not going to lie. I said that. I tried to word it as best I could on Twitter, and I don't know if I got the point across or not, but I made the attempt. But I think a very, very compelling football game. Welcome into the Monday edition of the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. A lot to get to on today's program. Plenty on the big game in Vegas last night. Two big home basketball wins for Carolina men and women this weekend, including just another absolutely dominant performance by Dawn Staley's number one Gamecocks. Lamont Paris's team had a wake-up call at halftime. I enjoyed Coach's postgame when he said, I let the assistants do the talking at halftime because my pregame speech, wasn't so good. And then in Lamont's very dry humor fashion, that was a joke. And nobody seemed to get it. Lamont's press conferences are fun, man. But
they're good.
Yeah, they're good. If you haven't yet heard, we'll tell you where South Carolina's men are ranked. I'm going to let you go ahead and guess where South Carolina's women remain in the AP poll that was released a little while ago. But the men, I'll just tell you this: they're on the ascension. So there's that, or is it the ascent? On the ascent? Are both correct?
I think both are correct. I probably have an English.
I don't want that lady that yells
is.
at me sometimes about my grammar to have to call somebody. Call my program director and leave a voicemail.
Industry term.
That's right.
It's an industry term.
It is.
We're going to adopt ascension as an industry term.
There you go. Good stuff. But anyway, good stuff there. Kentucky fans ready to run Cal out of town again, as Forrest Gump would say. So we'll talk on those things, but a lot to get to. And we were scheduled to be joined by Coach Mark Kingston today at 3:30, but they had a practice session, I guess, rained out over the weekend, so they moved it to today. I think they're inside because if you look outside here in Columbia, South Carolina, those of you, I don't know how it is right now, currently in Florence and Myrtle Beach, where we also have station or affiliates, but here in Columbia, it has been kind of just crappy and rainy all day.
It kind of mirrors the first half of the Super Bowl last night, where it's just really ugly.
This is one of those days.
It's gray.
We were just talking about Family Guy at the end of the Tyler Head Sports Experience, also known as the halftime show. And I think about Ollie, it's raining. But like today, you could just do that or just say, this is one of those days where I say just the weather guy is easy, crappy. And then you just there's just dead air for the rest of the weather segment because there's nothing else to say. Crappy.
Elijah, over to you for the weather. Bad. Back to you.
Look at that. Just look outside. It's not good. But Mark will join us today, scheduled to be with us around 5:30. So we'll shift the drive around the SEC up a little bit, and we'll spend time with Coach, whose ball club opens the regular season on Friday afternoon. Speaking of which, Bev Smith's team rolling through the opening weekend on the softball diamond. Wow. Man, virtually untouchable.
I was going to say, hard to have a better start.
Yeah. I don't think you can you?
Yeah.
Unless you want to get into all the nitty-gritty statistics. But last night was a whole lot of fun. Again, ugly game, so it depends on how you really want to label things, but I enjoyed it. What surprised? Well, there's a lot of things that surprised me. That Kansas City went down and scored to end the half, getting the ball back. I was like, all right, see, they're good. They're good. And then both teams kind of traded some bad possessions to open the third quarter. By the way, I thought Usher was good. I'm not as big an Usher fan as some people are, but it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was an A+.
It's fun to see Ludacris come out for a second. That was cool.
That was really fun.
That was cool.
I got to relive a little bit.
Yeah. That was all right. That was all right. But third quarter, I don't know. Sometimes this is one of the things, and some games are more crisp. Perhaps it's just that these two teams this season are so good defensively that they made what can be effective offenses look a little rough. I know a lot of people continue to question Kyle Shanahan and the Niners not continuing to give the ball to Christian McCaffrey. I think that's fair. Pacheco seemed at times for Kansas City in terms of a tailback kind of lost in the moment. I felt like there were just times when it was big for him.
His focus wasn't there.
Yeah, it's just
his miscues were focus plays.
Yeah, you felt like dude, it's and it always goes back for a lot of people, to Gene Hackman in Hoosiers when he's measuring everything and letting the boys know the room we're in is bigger, but the court we're using is the same. Same thing with football. And it is. Look, I get it. But let me say this too. I'll just jump right into it. What you saw last night from Patrick Mahomes is why so many people around this country, and I'm raising my own hand, no matter what the spread was or anything else, I'm not going to pick against Patrick Mahomes. The dude, he's better than you. And I am a believer, Elijah. I don't know how you feel. I'm a believer when people say, he's a clutch performer. I am not somebody who believes, and look, I suppose you could do this different ways, but I don't think clutch means that you take what you do consistently and routinely and you elevate it. I think it's more a matter of the people around you may wither and melt a little bit, and you don't. Again, look at Pacheco last night. I don't know. I mean, not that he had any necessarily clutch opportunities, okay? But you know who did? Mahomes and Kelsey. And everybody knows at that point, well, the two best players, right? I think back to how many times Brady and Gronk made plays. Just, the fourth and one with literally everything on the line in overtime was about as calm a play. I mean, you may as well have been running that like the first couple of days of camp in July. And if you remember, and I watched some highlights again this morning because I noticed it last night, and I really wanted to see. Kelsey had like two quick options. Like maybe there was a little bit that he could have gotten a pass if he needed it, but as soon as he saw Mahomes wheel right, Kelsey just turns into a tackle and goes out there and just blocks. And it was easy. And Mahomes pops up, and you see him look over. I know they got in-helmet communication, but you see him just look over at the same time. And it's right next play. Mm-hmm. There was no.
They expected to do that.
Yeah,
they expected to
absolutely.
Get that 4th and 1.
And to me, honestly, man, that's what I call like clutch. Like I got to go make a play. I don't have to win the game right now. I just need to make sure the game doesn't end right now. But everything about it, like I got it. He had a couple of big runs last night. He was their leading rusher last night. Mm-hmm. And he also threw for, 330-something yards. But so to me, and again, we can sit here. I'm not going to have a Monday show where we try and define what clutch performances are or what clutch means. But I do. I feel more often than not, and I've said that before, I think that the great players simply continue to play at what is already a very, very high level. Again, second half from Kelsey. And I know a lot of people are mad at Kelsey about bumping Andy. He said that they hugged it out, and nobody saw that. And that they talked about it. And then after the game, everything was fine. And yet, look, I don't think he meant to bump him. But I do think he meant to go over there and say, why are you not including me right now? And you can see, I watched it like for the third time, and Andy, finally I noticed this. Andy tries to stop him and say something to him, like in a nice way, like, hey, it's cool. But Travis wanted none of that at that moment.
Oh, no.
And look, I get that a lot of people now that are hating on Kelsey for a lot of reasons say, yeah, he should have been fined and kicked out of the game. Okay.
Kicked out of the game.
Kicked out, right. Like, come on. Who's kicking him out, man?
Right.
I mean, the refs don't give a crap. Well, you think Goodell's going to come down and do it?
And you think Brady used to love doing that on the sidelines.
And I think if Andy Reid had said to the team, I think I'm going to kick Travis out of the game, I think the team might have kicked themselves out of the game or kicked Andy out of the game.
No, he'd be the one getting kicked out of the game.
So, I think, pump the brakes on the whole kicked out of the game thing. Was it extreme? Obviously.
Unnecessary, yeah.
Yeah. But again, they hugged it out, apparently not too long after that nobody really talks about. And everything was fine by halftime. And then in the second half, Kelsey had, 8 catches for whatever yards?
92 of his 93 yards.
Yeah. And everything was fine. And so those two dudes, and the Niners know it, man. The Niners know it. Couldn't stop them.
No. Oh, that's my favorite thing about Patrick Mahomes' greatness is that it can be so in your face and also so subtle at the same time. Like the throw he made last night to set up the Isaiah Pacheco fumble was, he scrambles out to his left, throws across his body. That sucker might have traveled 65 yards in the air and was right on the money between, Hardman and two Niner safeties. That might have been one of the best throws you'll see in an NFL season. And also, he can make a read on a read option to pull the ball and be able to get that 19-yard run that he had earlier, or that 4th and 1 that you alluded to. They had a simple objective, just get the first down. And they made it look so easy, and it was so subtle. It's not as in your face, but they expected to get that 4th down. I think America expected them to get that 4th down. As big as that play was, when I was watching the game, I don't think the thought occurred in my mind that they're not getting it.
Right.
Because it's at that point now where you expect them to get the job done and him specifically to not make the mistake that ends the game. His greatness, while he makes these wild, mind-numbing plays at times that are aesthetically off the charts, he will also do all of the little things that come with preparation or just poise to end up winning the game because he's not going to do something that will cost them the game. It's remarkable to watch. He's been doing this now. He's not even 30 yet.
He's 28.
He's 28. Yeah, he's 6 months younger than me.
Look, I know a lot of people, we do this a lot with, is he the great, look, I don't know, man. I'm not really, I don't get into a lot of that. You believe what you believe. Mm-hmm. If you want me to really give you my personal opinion on who I think the greatest quarterback to ever be in the NFL is, it will always be John Elway. And I will get a lot of pushback on that, but I will also get a lot of people. I know, I say my good friend Dan Patrick, but I know Dan Patrick feels like I do. And Dan is not like me, a lifelong Denver Bronco fan. But if you think it's Brady, cool. If you think it's Montana, cool. If you think it's Troy Aikman or Jim Kelly or Fran Tarkenton or Bart Starr.
Cleo Lemon.
Or whoever, cool. Is it Brady because of Super Bowls? Yeah. And again, I say the greatness of Brady really, really showed itself to the football world when he won in Tampa and elevated that team into the Super Bowl champion, because then you realize the greatness of Brady was something beyond just, well, he's just, Belichick's system quarterback. And because I appreciated him, but that made me appreciate him even more. But what Mahomes did last night late, and I loved it, Super Bowl overtime. We're going to, by the way, later on in the show, Elijah and I'd like some of you to join in with us. So be thinking about this. But I'm just going to ask right now a somewhat rhetorical question. Why in God's name does the NFL have two kinds of overtime? And I want you all to tell me, where, just that's it.
And why are they so bad at explaining it?
I mean, because that's just silly. I'm in a good mood, so I'm just going to say it that way. It's silly, but I thought it was a heck of a game. Congrats to the Chiefs. Yes, it's a dynasty if you want to look at it like that. Yes, Mahomes is fantastic, and again, he's not even 30. I don't know how many he has left in him. I have no idea.
They traded their all-pro wide receiver 2 years ago and went back-to-back Super Bowls.
I do know that he takes up 20% of their salary cap, though. Maybe a little more.
Which explains the wide receiver position.
Pretty soon we're going to be hearing how he's reworked his contract, right?
Funny money in the NFL, man. They can do some remarkable stuff to that salary cap.
If I'm young Clark Hunt, I'm just giving him a big cut of the team, and I'll pay you later. Gamecock Hoops on the other side of the break, though. Lots of local stuff to get into. Big wins for Lamont and Dawn, and the rankings are out for the week. We'll do all of that as the Monday postgame show continues.
Cooper now comes and gets it on the left wing, working against Paul Lewis. Backs him down on the baseline, gives it to Murray Boyles, and there is the exclamation point. Another dunk for Colin Murray Boyles on a great feed from Talon Cooper. Murray Boyles will break the 30-point barrier for the first time. 31 points for the freshman. My goodness, what a day.
Derek Scott on the call. Casey Manning alongside. Saturday afternoon, South Carolina comes back from a 4-point halftime deficit to beat the Vanderbilt Commodores 75-60. Carolina runs its record to 21-3, 9-2 in conference play. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell with you. Dominating second half performance from the Gamecocks. Overall, Vandy was very efficient. This was not one of those fantastic, in my opinion, South Carolina defensive displays throughout. Now, again, in the second half, far better. But Vandy for the game, I think Jerry Stackhouse will be happy. Shot 48% from the floor. And okay from three. They were 5 of 15. They didn't make a lot of them. But, again, I'll take around 33%, a third of your threes. South Carolina wasn't great from three, to be honest with you, but they were more efficient from the floor. And neither team got to the line a lot. Vandy was bad from the line, wouldn't have helped. South Carolina was better, certainly, I think, on the boards. And, again, just in frustrating Vanderbilt in the second half. Vandy closed with a nice run. But Colin Murray Boyles, man, Elijah, 31 points, 7 boards. By the way, 7 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds. So his activity around the Gamecock basket after misses. And again, Carolina shot 51.7%. Colin Murray Boyles didn't attempt a three, was 14 of 17 from the floor, and he was 3 for 3 from the stripe. 14 of 17. 31 minutes, just 2 fouls, had a block, a steal, and 2 assists as well. Freshman. And again, I like Lamont said in postgame, the ceiling, I think Lamont's quote was, the ceiling is unbelievably high.
It's not the roof, but it is unbelievably high.
I guess it's like a big cathedral ceiling.
Very tall.
And
yeah,
right now he's
ceilings.
at about the basketball rim in a cathedral ceiling, right? Like I don't know where it is yet.
Yeah. So I mean he's right now, not eclipsed what it could be, but he's getting there.
And another thing Lamont mentioned in postgame, and you and I have been talking, we've all been talking about this. I don't want to just say you and I like we're the only ones, but watching Colin play since he has come to full strength, and just a reminder, this is a young man who missed the first month of the season with mono. So really for a while there, you can't do anything. And then you've got to work your way back. And those of us who know people that have had mono know, I mean, it's rough on you, man, even when you are young and incredibly healthy and vibrant. And it feels like, by the way, most of the time when people get mono, at least in my lifetime, it was like high school or college.
Yep. Unless you're Sam Darnold.
So, yeah. But anyway, now he is obviously back and in fine form, but it's his across-the-board game. I mean, if he was a video game player, you'd love him. He's the guy that you're building, like, to be your avatar.
You're my player.
Yeah.
On 2K.
When you can mess with the little thing and like, well, I want him to be, I don't know, yeah, and you just put them all at like a place where you're just good across the board, and then you can get better. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got length, he's got quickness. He's got some touch. He is incredibly active defensively. He sees the floor. He anticipates. He doesn't get into foul trouble as he defends with his activity and length. I mean, the kid's extraordinary. And thank God somebody asked him in postgame, and you can help me with who it was. It wasn't you, was it? About the NBA. That wasn't you.
Oh, no. I think that might have been Matt Vereen. I think asked the question about.
Because people now listen, and I'm not getting ahead of myself. And Elijah can see me, and so those of you watching me can see me. I'm smiling, so this is a little tongue in cheek, a little. But you do worry in today's college landscape about poaching and tampering. I know a lot of you do, whether it's your team or just in general. I am certain that the play of Colin Murray Boyles is catching people's attention. But is it getting to a point to go to the questioner on Saturday that maybe it's no – listen, and I think South Carolina can do whatever it is that is necessary to fulfill today's needs and obligations, and I'll leave it at that. Y'all all get it. And remember, you can do that legitimately these days. But if this continues over the next month, and there's no reason to think it won't, he ain't scoring 31 points a night, mind you. But does he begin, Elijah, to attract the attention of the scouts who may say, don't know yet? I mean, again, I'm not trying to put that on the kid, and he's got some hard games coming up, but something to think about.
I mean, there's a lot of things that will carry over to the NBA, like the athleticism on the defensive end, the anticipation. I mean, you look at the last 2 games, he has had 2 blocks that are NBA level athleticism plays, whether it be, stuffing a 7'5" center at the rim on a lob, right, and then chasing down Ezra Manjon and sending it through the backboard almost. Those are like NBA level plays. And we've seen his basketball IQ is NBA level. His ability to pass is NBA level. What's one of the rarer traits that NBA teams look for in their centers now? Guys who can play make and not just be screener rollers. He's also a good screener. He can roll to the rim. He does a lot of things, and you know what would help him in that case too, in terms of getting NBA draft attention? This is an awful draft class. Yeah. In terms of high-end talent, there might not be a college basketball player that's playing in college basketball today picked until maybe pick 4 or 5. They're just not. There just isn't. This is not a high-end, you got a tank in the NBA because you want one of the guys that's playing college basketball right now. He could play himself into that discussion because there's already a lot of things athletically that he does. And if I'm an NBA scout, I'm looking at him like, if we can, get him to shoot from the outside, we can expand his range a little bit, which is what, these coaches in the NBA and the G League get paid good money to do, is to develop them in that area. There's already so much that you can't teach that he already has that he could build upon to make him a really good NBA player. He will be a really good player in the NBA. And
before we say anything else, and again, I say this with a smile on my face, those of you who are listening to this right now going, shut up. I don't want him to leave yet. Don't say it. They're already thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean they at Carolina. I mean the basketball community.
Yes. Oh,
this kid's
absolutely
on everybody's radar now.
Yeah.
So, listen, I'm with you guys that are saying, shut up. Don't say that. You're going to jinx it. I'd love to see him stay in Columbia for another year, and he may stay in Columbia for another year. I'm not putting odds or percentages on things. I don't know, but it was extraordinary to watch what he did the other day. And again, 14 of 17 from the floor. That's going to be a peak moment,
and not all dunks too.
Right. I mean, he's got some touch and range, man, but no threes.
Yeah.
No threes for 31 points. Didn't even attempt one. B.J. Mack did, 5 of 9. He was very good as well, 6 of 13 overall. He had 18 points to go along with 7 boards and 2 assists. And once again, South Carolina showing you what they do offensively. 30 made buckets, 21 of them were assisted, so well over 2/3 of their buckets Saturday afternoon, I should say, were assisted. Gamecocks only turned the ball over 7 times. And Vandy in the first half frustrated South Carolina. They did. Mm-hmm. And the Gamecocks made every single necessary adjustment, and really it did not take long to just move right on past Vandy to start the second half.
Once they became more aggressive on the defensive end of the ball and started blitzing ball screens a lot more, and Lamont mentioned that after the game, they definitely got more aggressive with ball screen coverage because that's all Vanderbilt did the first half was just ball screen them to death. They got a little more aggressive on that end. They were able to string together 3-4 stops in a row, and they just kept doing what they were doing on offense, and it created separation.
The latest top 25s, men and women. We'll get you some highlights from Dawn Staley's women's team yesterday, really taking it to UConn pretty much all day long. Lots more to do as the postgame show continues. Tell you about our good friends at PL Wine Pool and Spa. All right, today's not the day. I get it. But it is a day to think, man, what would it be like when it's nice and sunny outside and around 80 or 90 degrees here in Columbia, and I'm done with work, or the kids are home from school, or it's Saturday? Time for a Pete Alewine Pool's what it's time for. The leader across the Midlands in vinyl, fiberglass, and gunite pool design, installation, and service. See, once they build it, they don't just walk away. They'll help keep it clean, keep it repaired, make sure that everything stays nice and good for you when it comes to the chemicals that you use to keep that water clean. You can even take water samples into Pete Alewine. They'll test it for you, tell you exactly what you need. They're there from start to finish and beyond. 5541 Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. Always online as well. PeteAlewinePools.com. Get them into the backyard soon. Have fun for years to come. Like the two beverages, ale and wine. Pete Alewine Pool and Spa.
We didn't get off to a great third quarter start, but I think over the course of the quarter, I thought we widened the lead, and I thought we did what we needed to do defensively to get a big lead, and then look what happened. I mean, they ate into that lead in the fourth quarter, but it gave us enough cushion to have them have a run, and we didn't feel it as much if it's the same score, then it's a different basketball game. If we didn't do what we needed to do in the third quarter.
That was Dawn Staley yesterday after her number one Gamecocks defeated Connecticut 83-65 at CLA. I imagine the neutral observer might have wanted this one to be a little tighter. Gamecock fans are good with it. Carolina, I think Connecticut closed well at the end of the second quarter, if I remember correctly. Gamecocks did expand that lead. The third quarter score was 25-14 after Carolina had I think a 16-point. Second half lead. Yeah, that's what it was. And as Dawn said, Connecticut actually outscored South Carolina in the fourth quarter 21-14. So that 83-65, I don't know if the game was that close. I think at that point you're just kind of letting it go. Dawn was able to pretty much clear the bench yesterday. Trying to think.
All four of the players.
I would say that we're on the bench. That's right. Walker only had 7 minutes, but Fagan, Fulwiley, Johnson came off the bench with double-digit minutes. And let's see, Watkins led the way with 15 points. She had 9 boards as well. Chloe Kitts she had 14 and 4. But Tahina Paupau was the one yesterday that really just set the tone early. She'd been in a little shooter slump, which shooters go through, but she was killing it yesterday. Finished 5 of 7 from 3, 8 of 12 from the floor, 21 points for her to go along with 2 assists. Raven Johnson had a good game, too, I thought, with 12 rebounds, 5 assists,
Career
10
high.
points. Yeah, 12 boards for a guard. That's a big deal, man. Her activity as well, but she was terrific. 2 steals, too. Look, this is where Carolina is. I threw in my tweet after the women's game yesterday. You just won 2 games by a combined 56 points. One of them a conference game, one of them obviously a big national marquee event, and you did it without your either. I don't know. Best player. There's too many other factors. I think Camilla probably is labeled that by a lot of people. Maybe this season she and Tahina are kind of 1A, 1B just for what they've been doing. But, I mean.
Leading scorer.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Factual.
Best player you might look at other factors for best player. But you did it without her regardless of what you want to call her. So that was a big deal. But I just think this team is just showing how good and talented it is. And one of the things that Dawn said in postgame, actually, it might have been in the broadcast. No, it was. It was on one of those little sidebars where it was, dude, it was one of the best recruiting pitches. Now, it was one of those sidebars like, well, hey, look, all these girls come to Columbia, and sometimes they got to sit, and they could go start at a lot of places, but they know we're going to prep them for everything. And it was just like, y'all come to Columbia.
And that's what when talking about Ashlyn Watkins yesterday in the postgame, she said, Ashlyn could have gone and played anywhere else, but she understood why she wasn't playing last year. She understood, but then knew that when it was time to step into a big role, she stepped into a big role. And when she goes to the WNBA, she's going. And if she doesn't play right away, it's not something she's just not prepared to do.
Let me give you one more from Dawn. Cut 22, please, Elijah, on our list here. Dawn was asked what a win like this over a top-ranked Connecticut team that was already at 20 wins also says about her program.
Our players are committed to the process. And fortunately and unfortunately, because you lose Camilla to the Brazilian national team, but you're fortunate enough to have players who don't get a whole lot of minutes step up in a big way. That means we're doing something right. It means our players' mindsets are right. That means our parents' mindsets are right of our players. Because sometimes you would think that my daughter should be playing a lot more than what she's playing. And they're right. They're right. They're not wrong. But when you come to South Carolina, you commit to our program, you're going to have other people who are as good as you are, better, or sometimes worse, but play better in certain circumstances. And that's kind of what we have here. So everybody should feel real good about where we are as a program, other than wanting some more minutes. But they made me know that they're deserving of more minutes.
Dawn's team goes to 23-0, 12-0 in conference play. Obviously, yesterday not a conference game. The Gamecocks are back at it on Thursday in Knoxville and home next Sunday against Georgia. So, but that game in Knoxville, that's a place that loves this sport as well and will be loud.
It'd be a tough environment.
Tennessee will come back here, too, by the way, to close out the regular season. Again, Camila Cardoso was away for the week with Brazil. She played well, and I did see she was named as one of the, I guess, like the top 5 players in their little round robin.
Like an all-tournament team.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
But there was unfortunate news as well.
Yeah, Brazil failed to qualify. They're not in contention to qualify for the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
She gave it her best. They gave it their best. Australia was in their group. Serbia was in their group. And Germany was in their group.
Tough draw.
And Australia, number 3 in the world, they went undefeated.
Yeah, they will be. I have a good feeling they will be in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think
we will see them.
I think they're. I mean, is there like a next stage for them to go to?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is that it?
Yeah, I think there might be a next. Stage.
Oh. But Camilla, would you say 16 and 14?
Against Serbia. Yeah,
Okay.
so she had about 16 points and 14 rebounds. It's a monster double-double.
Yeah. She should be ready. I don't know when she gets back. Dawn may not start her on Thursday. Come off the bench and just kind of. I mean, it's just
watch her minutes.
It's a week
bit.
of basketball, so it isn't like she's done anything. She didn't have to go mountain climbing too.
It's just excessive travel. Right. That's a lot of travel.
Dawn Staley's team remains the number 1 team in the country, as you might imagine. They are also the unanimous number 1. Ohio State is now number 2. Stanford 3. Iowa drops a couple of spots after an upset loss at Nebraska. Texas is 5th. LSU is 13th. And if you want me to count Oklahoma as an SEC school, which I really can't yet, they're 23rd.
You should do it anyway.
Yeah, they're 23rd. Tennessee and Mississippi State each got vote.
Singular vote.
But they are not ranked. But Gamecocks, again, the unanimous number 1. Meanwhile, on the men's side of things, it's fun to be able to do this for this audience.
Yeah. To share rankings for both teams.
Connecticut remains the number 1 team in the country, and Purdue remains number 2. Houston, Marquette, Arizona, 3, 4, 5, all moving up a little bit, while Kansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee dropped a few spots. Duke is 9th. Iowa State is 10th, and starting the second 10 in men's basketball rankings for the week of February 12th, your South Carolina Gamecocks. And
how about that?
They have not been ranked this highly since Eddie Fogler's team in 1998. Not the SEC title team, but the next year when Carolina was a 3 seed.
The follow-up.
That team got to number 5, so this is as high as they've been ranked since 1998. Baylor is next. Auburn, where Carolina will be on Wednesday night, is 13th. Illinois 14. Alabama is 15th. Dayton 16. Creighton 17. That's fun. Dayton and Creighton. St. Mary's 18. BYU 19. And Wisconsin is number 20. Yeah, you didn't hear Kentucky in the top 20, did you? No, you did not. Virginia has started winning again.
They're playing really well.
They're getting
playing
back.
really good basketball right now.
Again, 2 weeks ago, we were looking at bracketology, and it's like, what's weird here? Virginia out, South Carolina in, Villanova out, Nebraska in.
Because they were legitimately not a tournament team.
But they'll be. We knew they'd be fine, right? They're going to be fine. Their defense travels in February. They'll make things ugly for people and win games.
You got to be able to score more than 45 points.
Well,
and
that's
that was
fair.
kind of their issue.
That's fair. Kentucky is number 22. Indiana State, y'all. You ever heard of Larry Bird?
No relation to Big Bird, right?
Not that I know of. But the last time Indiana State was ranked was when Larry Bird played for Indiana State.
That's one of the best stories in college basketball right now. They are a fun offense to watch.
FAU is 24th. Oklahoma is 25th. Got an interesting take on something Dawn said on Sunday that I want to get to as the postgame show continues. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock here on a Monday afternoon. Still a little dreary in Columbia. Some bad weather around, though, so do be careful. Elijah will have any traffic updates for you coming in just a little bit. Speaking of Elijah, that's him right over there.
That's me.
And I'm
Allegedly.
Jay. I'm Jay on this side. How you doing?
Pretty good. Nice to meet you, Jay.
Yeah. What'd you have for food last night?
I had a lot of wings.
Okay.
A whole lot of chicken, and since, at my house, our kitchen's being renovated, so we cannot use it. So to the Super Bowl party we went to, I bought 50 nuggets from Wendy's.
There you go.
So I brought a lot of chicken nuggets and had to clarify, no, we didn't want to bail out on it. We usually like to make a dip.
Yeah.
But my gift last night was 50 Wendy's nugs, and they were cleared by halftime.
We were kind of low key last night. A couple of our girls were in town, and we thought they were going back, and that we were going to some friends' houses. And about every third year, I told you we host a few people at our house. But when one of my daughters decided to stay home, and we had not seen her since New Year's, we're like, all right, well, we'll just kind of and what we typically, my wife and I like to do is make something that is at least kind of like the town. But with Vegas, it's like, I don't know. So then we thought, well, we'll make some Kansas City and some San Francisco. So we had some smoked pork tenderloin.
Okay.
And since San Francisco has a lot of Asian food influence, we had some pot stickers.
Oh, I do love pot stickers.
But then we had just like some snack mixes and some like chips and hummus. But since there was only a few of us, it didn't, So I didn't go full bore.
It didn't have to go completely elaborate, is what you're saying.
So I don't know that smoked pork tenderloin is necessarily like a Kansas City thing, but I just like doing it, so I did. And it's
Gave you an excuse to
smoked meats. Kansas City's known for that, so I'm good with it. We'll have more on the big game coming up for you in just a bit. And again, we're going to do an early drive around the SEC around 4:30 today. There is a lot to get to around the conference. We're doing that because at 5:30, where we typically have the drive around, Gamecock baseball coach Mark Kingston going to join us. He had to push back his interview just a little bit because of practice today. Although, again, I guess they're in the indoor facility because you ain't out on the field in Columbia.
Nope.
This afternoon.
A little rainy.
A little bit. And has been, since about 10 o'clock last night. Dawn Staley yesterday in her post game after the big win over Connecticut was asked, amongst other things, about how she is enjoying South Carolina's men's basketball team, what that means for her, the school, and her relationship with Lamont Paris. And here's what she had to say.
I mean, for me, it's just encouragement. Like from last year, to nobody being at the games and the marketing team fudging those numbers to now, I mean, these are real numbers because they're winning. Like, they're winning. Like, I think Lamont's a great coach, X and O coach. I think he's a great culture coach. He's got the right guys representing him. And, I mean, the sky is the limit for this program. Like, he just needed a chance, and I don't think he was a popular choice for our fans because of where he came from. But you got to look at the success and where he's been and where he's going to take our program, and you got to give it up for what he's able to do with his guys. And I just want to help him. I want to help him recruit. I want to help him be successful. Because he's a black coach at a school that doesn't have very many black coaches, and we need to be successful in these settings so other coaches can get an opportunity like we have.
If you are a Gamecock, I don't really even care. I mean, just a Gamecock, whatever sport, whatever age. Hearing her say, I just want to help. And then say, especially, I want to help recruit.
That stuck out.
I mean, that's what you want to hear. And I know last week we pressed Ray Tanner as best we could on what his conversations with Lamont have been or will be like. And as you might imagine, Coach was not ready to go there yet, but did say after the second press.
After the follow-up.
He said, well, you've seen what we've done for Dawn, and we would like Coach Paris to be here a long time. And in that respect, I have seen what they've done for Dawn, because Dawn will make certain that everything she needs to continue this is in place. And newsflash, it is. Now, does that change and evolve? Sure. But as it does, it gets done. I think South Carolina will do that for Lamont Paris. Now, it's different, but how different? Maybe not that much. But when you hear Dawn say, I'm ready to help, Dawn's a rock star.
Mm-hmm. And she can help sell the program indirectly.
You know, that's big news. So, and a little chuckle in there with some of the attendance figures from last year, perhaps.
Yeah, she might have spilled some beans that
Don't worry, dude.
everyone does.
Everybody knew what was up. We joked about it sometimes, too. Hour 2 coming up.
Before that, though, let me tell you about my good friend Ben Cato and his whole crew, Matt and everybody down at Cato's Power Equipment. You know, last year they hooked me up with a still absolutely fantastic, almost, dare I say, at least in terms of yard work, life-changing Toro Time Master mower with a 30-inch deck. Self-propelled. I can do whatever I feel like doing in terms of speed of cut. But typically, it takes about half of the time now to cut my backyard than it used to, or the front yard for that matter, but you get my drift. Whether you're cutting your own backyard, doing it for a living, see Cato's for excellent sales, service, and advice. And now, especially those of you that do it for a living, but it really doesn't matter, they're renting a lot of equipment. Get a feel for what this can do for you, what it means for you, and then make the big decisions. Need something serviced? The service department, second to none, all across the Midlands. Family owned since 1983, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. Cato's Power Equipment.
First and goal at the 3. Lining up in the clock at 10 seconds and ticking. In the shotgun, Mahomes. 4-man front, receiver in motion, low snap. He runs and he throws, caught, touchdown. It's caught. Hardman caught the ball. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won. The entire bench empties. Chasing Mahomes in the end zone. Their third Super Bowl in 5 years. The Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
Kevin Harlan, the master, on the call last night for Westwood One, heard right here on these airwaves. Welcome back in. Second hour of the postgame show underway alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We're in the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, wherever you are. Thanks. Appreciate you. Fun game last night. Again, ugly at times. Not going to go, that was one of the best games. But in terms of the thrill, being compelled to just what's happening. I mean, we got overtime. And not only did we get overtime, that ball was caught with, 2 seconds left?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the clock was winding down.
And in that cut, I'm glad we played that because I am going to get into this, and I don't know where. I told Elijah to be prepared for me. I don't know if now is the time or not, but it may just happen. I want to talk about the game, but part of the game was the overtime. But Kevin Harlan there is like, and it's caught, and then it dawns on him, too. The game's over. The overtime rules are odd. And you've had today, San Francisco, well, at least I guess last night, but today the news coming out that several San Francisco players in post-game interview opportunities admitted they didn't know that there was a difference in NFL postseason overtime. And you've had Kyle Shanahan being questioned for why he chose the ball to start. And the Chiefs have said if the Niners won the overtime toss and chose the ball. The Chiefs have already said if we had won the toss, we were deferring because the rules are different. And apparently, now, Shanahan's logic is fair. In fact, do we have that cut? I don't know if we do.
Don't know if I saw.
No, we don't ask. We don't. It's okay. It's okay. Shanahan basically said, "Hey, look, we just wanted to set the tone." And I've heard some other people saying, and they're probably right. Remember, the Chiefs had just gone down the field and scored. Yes, a field goal, but had just gone down and scored moments before. And maybe Shanahan was a little worried about putting his defense right back out on the field, even if his offense could have rested and still had an opportunity. And that's just it. You know, and look, for the average fan, you may not know. I knew there was a difference, but quite honestly, even I, for a second, when it was getting done, I was like, man, they need to hurry. And I was like, oh, no, they don't. And my wife even asked me, she's like, don't they need to hurry? And I was like, well, they don't because you get a possession. The possession for the team that goes second. And see, even now trying to explain it, I feel like I'm being confusing. But San Francisco took a long time to go down and kick that field goal in overtime. And then the Chiefs took a long time to go down and get in position to go win the game or tie the game. And, again, with just a few seconds left, that pass was thrown, caught, and the game was over. But there would have been another overtime period. We can't really call it a quarter. But because the possession has to naturally end with a score, a turnover on downs, whatever. So if the clock had expired there, then they'd have just gone down to the other end and had, second and goal or whatever, right? I guess that would have been third down, maybe. Mm-hmm. Third down. That was the touchdown was thrown on second down. But again, let me just get into this while we talk about the game. Then I may come back around and try not to rant too much. But that's just it. In regular season NFL overtime, and try to get some cotton so that your ears don't bleed too much when I do this. If you're the team that gets the ball first and you score a touchdown, or if you're the defending team and you get a defensive touchdown, the game is over in the regular season. If the team that wins the toss, or gets the ball first, I should say, if the team that gets the ball first in regular season overtime kicks a field goal or does nothing, then the second team gets the opportunity to go down, and should they kick a field goal or whatever else, they win the game.
And the clock matters.
And the clock matters because after 15 minutes, it can end in a tie in the regular season. Obviously, a playoff game can't end in a tie. Well, it could. Co-champions.
We'll share the Lombardi Trophy. We'll cut it in half.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's the day America finally ends, isn't it?
Oh, where we share Super Bowl champion. We just get so over it. You play so many overtimes. You're just so over it. You're like, you know what? Fine. Both of you.
Here, just that's it.
So there's that. And then, again, in the postseason, even if the team that goes first scores a touchdown, the next team gets the opportunity to possess the ball. That's the rule. Possess the ball. This happened after the Bills and Chiefs thing, right? Okay. I get it. Okay, so there's that. I get it. Now, this is ridiculous. I already hate NFL overtime. I don't really like college overtime. All right? I really don't. Now, this is just my opinion, okay? But NFL, at least college has just one set of overtime rules. But when you have players on a team in the Super Bowl admitting to reporters in postgame, we didn't know there was a difference. Now, that's on them a little bit, granted, okay, and the coaching staff. Because, again, the Chiefs said, oh, no, we went through all these scenarios. We were totally prepared for overtime and what it would look like, and that we didn't need to worry, didn't need to panic. We would just get a possession and do what we needed to do. And you saw that. You saw that. They, again, like I told you, Elijah, that may as well have been a preseason game. They just went right down the field.
Methodically.
Yeah. I mean, it was just classic Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid play calling. But why? And so let me just make a quick call. I've said this before. Hey, football, look at basketball for a minute for me. Look at baseball for a minute for me. Look at soccer for a minute for me. There's nothing crazy there. In basketball, and I've said this on the air before, but I'm going to say it again. In basketball, you don't have some kooky rule. Like I was telling you, imagine if just the NBA Finals, well, we're going to play 8 minutes of overtime. And then we're going to play best to 11, and then we're going to play horse. Or, something like that.
The clock won't matter, but we'll have it anyway.
But only in the finals. And only after game 4. So, if you sweep and it goes, or the one that's fine. We'll just play 5 minutes. No, basketball, you play 5 minutes of overtime. There's no 5 minutes unless you hit a 30-foot three-pointer. Baseball, you play extra innings. There's no we'll play unless you hit a 450-foot home run or something crazy, or first batter hits a home run, or first pitcher gets, I told you what I say, the first pitcher or the first batter is struck out on 3 pitches that are all over 95 miles an hour. Like just something that's like, why would you put stipulations on the sport? Don't. Play the game. Basketball, you play the game. Soccer, because a lot of times you can draw in soccer right away, but in like Champions League or World Cup, when there are knockout games, playoff games, if it's tied after 90 minutes, you play 30 minutes of soccer. The opening kickoff of the overtime period could have a guy go right down, dribble between everybody, shoot, score, 10 seconds off the clock. You're playing 29 minutes and 50 more seconds. Conversely, hockey, regular season, 3-on-3, 5 minutes, sudden death. Playoff hockey, 5-on-5, a full 20-minute periods. But guess what? It's sudden death. The point is, you know what it is. In football, in the biggest sporting spectacle that this country can produce every year, you literally had dudes on a team going, oh. And you know why that is? Primarily, it's because NFL owners voted for this. Why, Elijah?
They voted to change a rule that affected very few, I guess, of the games, because they did it after that Bills-Chiefs game 2 years ago, right? And that's why I think a lot of people, myself included, completely forgot that the rule changed for overtime. Because you know what? We hadn't had to think about it for 2 years. That's maybe why, San Francisco had players that probably didn't think about it because, they made the change because of that game. And you know what? No one, like a good chunk of the entire other team didn't remember that rule changed. And I think it was kind of poorly explained on the broadcast as well. A graphic would have been cool.
Oh, very poorly explained on the, and even the ref at the middle of the field was like, all right, guys, we're basically starting a new game. Well, wait a minute. What? We're not playing 60 more minutes, so you're not starting a new game.
Yeah.
So he did a bad job of that.
And why is the clock running?
Right.
What's the point of the bleeping clock?
Right.
If this is possession based, why do you have the clock there? Why?
I'd have no idea.
But that might be the dumbest part. It's like, so the clock doesn't matter because you get to finish the possession, but if it does end, then we're just going to have to switch to the other side like it's the end of a quarter.
Yeah.
Why is the bleeping clock there?
I have no idea.
If it's just not, is it just there for show? I mean, do the clock operators get overtime? Like overtime
I guess
pay
only to know. I mean, I'm dead serious because I'm with you. I'm with you.
So dumb.
Only to know when to change
stupid.
ends because that's what football does. Because you're right. I mean, in the college overtime. There's no running play. There's a play clock, but there's no running clock.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. In postseason NFL overtime, why have a clock? Well, there again, just look, NFL, football in general, I've said this before, 10 minutes, play the sport. None of this nonsense of who gets, if you score first or only do this. And even last night, I didn't even know this, but they said it. The one caveat was so I guess last night, if somehow the Chiefs could have gotten a safety on San Francisco, the game would have been over as well.
Defensive score, yeah. Like it would in any other overtime rule, which it was just so poorly explained. Like I said, a graphic would have been really cool.
But 10 minutes of football,
Something.
just 10 minutes of football. After that 10 minutes, I guess we play another 10 minutes. Now, again, I come back around to something that I know people push back on, and I get it. Same thing with soccer. The reason they stop soccer at 30 minutes is because by then,
you're exhausted.
Most of those dudes have run probably around 10 miles. And it's grueling. The reason hockey is sudden death, and sometimes I've seen playoff hockey go to like a third overtime, which I cannot possibly imagine.
Oh, I have produced radio broadcasts, back-to-back radio broadcasts within the same playoff series, 2 straight 3 overtime games.
I can't, I don't know how those dudes feel their
insane.
legs.
It's
Grueling.
insane.
So sudden death makes sense. It's a grueling sport. So football, I get it. It's physical, it's hard, it's demanding. But why do both college and the NFL make it so? Just play 10 minutes, play 5 minutes. I don't care. 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes, half a quarter. I don't care. But just have a clock that runs and then start it over again if you have to until somebody wins the game.
And if you're going to have a possession-based overtime, just don't use the clock because you're just going to confuse people.
It doesn't make sense. But when you have players admitting that they didn't know the rules. So while I can put blame in a lot of places, the people responsible for why it's so dadgum confusing are the men and women that own the teams of the National Football Leagues that voted for this. And after last night, despite the fact that was a thrilling 15 minutes, you need to do something about it for the future. And my suggestion is very simple. Follow what basketball and baseball do primarily. You play the game in small increments until we get a winner. It really is that simple. It really is that simple. They aren't doing it. So, just my suggestion. We'll talk more about the big game itself, drive around the SEC coming up a little earlier as well. And if you got thoughts on this, by the way, hit us up, 803-404-6100. Love Chevy phone lines, Firehouse Subs text line. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, the Postgame Show.
Yeah, I mean, I hope people remember not only the greatness that we have on the field, but the way that we've done it. I mean, I feel like we enjoy it every single day. We have fun. We play hard. And it's not always pretty, but we just continue to fight to the very end. And I know you get fatigue of the team sometimes, of one team winning, but we try to enjoy it and just enjoy the moment that we have together and enjoy just kind of what we can do every single day to bring the best out of each other.
Patrick Mahomes, third MVP as a Super Bowl winner for that young man. Again, just 28 years old. Already been to the Super Bowl 4 times. You forget that it's like, who'd they lose to? Oh, yeah. That other guy. He was pretty good.
Did a lot of winning.
Yeah. Like I said, that Bucs Super Bowl, man, that's that Tom Brady, that's the one. That where you're like, oh. If you want to believe that Tom Brady is the best of all time for 7 Super Bowl wins, I get it. Joe Montana, 4 out of 4. Terry Bradshaw, 4 out of 4. I'm not sure anybody's going to really give that to old Ter, but I was a Bradshaw fan growing up, and he was popular.
He's a fun Pro Football Reference page to look at, to go back in hindsight and look at some of those games.
First pick in the draft. That's what I remind people. Terry Bradshaw was really good. First pick in the draft. And he won 4 Super Bowls. So there's something good there, right?
Louisiana Tech going to ever get a number 1 overall pick again?
No.
Yeah, doubt it.
No. Because now they'll all make sure they can get into LSU. Because Terry
will transfer to LSU.
Terry basically, yeah, that's true. But Terry basically tells you he didn't go to LSU because LSU wouldn't let him in. So y'all figure that one out. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Academic standards maybe a little different.
I'm just saying. Again, don't take my word for it. Bradshaw will tell you. Why didn't you go to LSU, Terry? He'll tell you. Anyway, Mahomes was brilliant last night. And I just, again, ugly game at times for sure. But to hear him say, I know people get tired of it. I guess I understand that. I do, but I don't buy into that. Like if you want somebody else to do it, you got to lose. And everybody was talking about it. Whatever the reasons. Listen, there were some people out there in the middle of the season. Oh, see, Taylor Swift's a distraction. The Chiefs aren't as good. Stop it. So they're not. So they lost a few games. There was a lot of turnover on that team. And oh, by the way, the Ravens are good and the Bills are good. It's okay. The Browns got better. It's okay. The Dolphins were good. Sometimes my Broncos beat them finally for the first time in 6 years. Maybe 7 years.
Something like that. They're top 10 in offense and defense in terms of, efficiency. Yeah. They were just dead last in turnovers. And you know what they cut out when the regular season ended?
Yeah.
Turning the ball over. Right. And it's miraculous to see exactly how many games that will win you alone.
Well, may he rest in peace, our dear friend Tommy Moody. If there was one thing in football above any other that every week he would pound the table about, it was turnover margin. Amen, brother. Amen, Tommy. You nailed it.
Turnover margin's how miracles happen in these games.
It matters so much. And they did, but they're so good and he's so good. It's not Taylor Swift. Ugh, stop it. Stop it. It's because they got it together. And, then it was like, oh, well, he only wins because they always get home games. Not this year. One of them was at home. But then they had to go to Buffalo. But you know what? They don't mind the cold because it gets cold in Kansas City in the winter. And they don't mind going to hostile environments because they're the Chiefs now. And when they go on the road every year in Denver, in Oakland, or Las Vegas, or pretty much anywhere else they go these days, that doesn't matter. Are you better than them? Probably. And you're going to go win the game. That's what they did again last night. So if you want to beat them, you want to see somebody else, you got to, it's easy. It's easy. It's sports. Win the game. Beat them.
It's easy when you say it like that.
Right.
But then it's like, beat Patrick Mahomes.
There you go.
Okay, you know what? I'll try.
And that's my point, too. Yeah. That's point B, obviously. Right? Obviously, that's my point.
The only other quarterbacks to do it, like Tom Brady.
Right.
Joe Burrow.
Right.
That's the That's the company there.
And next year, look, I think I've already seen the Niners are the current odds-on favorite if you want to start losing your money now on next season.
If you want to place a bet you're going to forget about by the end of the next Super Bowl.
But Burrow, I hope for the love of the game, will be back and completely healthy. I think another year for Lamar with Todd Monken is going to be fun. As much as it makes me kind of shiver to say it, and it has nothing to do with where he went to college, but I think it's just the whole overall between truck stop Jimmy Haslam and Deshaun together, but Cleveland and now my good friend Deuce is there. They won 11 games. Houston won a playoff game. San Diego now has Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert coming into his prime.
The Padres?
Sorry.
Classic.
They should just move back. Can we just call them the San Diego Chargers anyway?
Floyd Reese never referred to them as the Los Angeles Chargers. Rest in peace. Floyd never referred to them.
How
GM.
I know it's farther, and it's probably a good deal farther, but like the Niners play in Santa Clara, which I think is like 30 miles. So how far is like San Diego's like 100, probably like 100 miles, right? From LA? Maybe more.
Never been. Couldn't tell.
I haven't either. Anyway, you see the point I'm making. Let's just call them the Chargers. No name, no geography attached.
They got to get back to the playoffs again before we can
Just
give
the
them
Chargers.
a city to assign to them.
Like it'll be like Beyonce or Cher or Madonna. We'll just call them the Chargers. They're not good enough for that, though, are they?
That require winning games.
Yeah, that's true. But they got Harbaugh, so it's going to be really hard. Is my point. Even for the great Patrick Mahomes. By the way, Kelsey says he's coming back. Andy says he's not retiring. So the core, the big three, and Jones will be back. So there's by the way, like twice last night when it mattered most, who was right there blowing up a play?
Go, Chris Jones.
I mean, I thought the Niners would score a touchdown. It's like, oh, y'all know you got to block him, right?
Oh, and Chris Jones up front. Oh, and Trent McDuffie was all over the field too. That man broke up so many passes that could have been touchdowns. That guy was awesome. And then you know what? He's like a second-year player, so they'll have him for a while too.
I'd like to think that Denver will push Kansas City in the AFC West next year. I'd like to think that, Elijah.
Well, I would like to think a lot of things too.
So,
I also like to dream.
But the AFC,
you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not.
Again, the last time my team was in the postseason, they were hoisting the trophy.
We're approaching a decade.
It's frightening.
Peyton Manning was hoisting that trophy. He has not played in almost a decade. No,
he has not. Anyway, I thought last night was great. Again, to go back to the point I was making at the top of the hour, the overtime thing, man, you got to fix that.
Stupid.
You gotta fix that. It was that part was just odd and weird, and again, it's very avoidable. It's very avoidable. But we are witnessing greatness. I love watching Mahomes. I've said before, if there's one player above any other in the NFL that I would pay money to and buy a ticket to go watch, even though I am a lifelong fan of a rival, it's Mahomes, man. The dude is just better than you. And last night, he showed it again. He's just playing better than you. And I thought it was a lot of fun to watch, man. Again, ugly game at times, but very compelling.
They traded Tyreek Hill and won back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Just let that sink in, too.
Yeah.
Had to trade him because of salary cap restrictions and still went back-to-back.
And Hardman saying, I blacked out. That was like the moment of the trophy like stuff. I thought I blacked out.
Love the honesty there.
That was great. An early drive around the SEC. Mark Kingston's going to join us next hour in our typical drive around slot. So we're going to get you caught up on basketball and a couple of pretty big football moves in the conference. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of accidents to report to you here on this rainy Monday afternoon. Might be causing some delays on the roadways. We'll start in Swansea on I-26 westbound after US 21 near exit 129. An accident has the left lane completely blocked, so traffic moving incredibly slow there on I-26 westbound. Here in Columbia, an accident has been reported on Bull Street near Elmwood Avenue, causing some mild traffic delays. Another one here on I-20 eastbound after Broad River Road, exit 65. And one more on I-26 westbound at the St. Andrews Road, exit 106.
Going to take an early drive around the SEC here at 4:35 on a Monday afternoon. Welcome back in, Jay and Elijah. Typically we do this around 5:30, but Coach Mark Kingston is going to join us then today live. He's practicing right now. Typically starting, well, it's going to be today with the season starting on Friday, but throughout the course of the season, Coach is going to join Elijah and me on Mondays at 3:30. But they had a practice rained out, and now they got to get a practice in today inside, as you may imagine, because, again, it is raining in Columbia and has been since about 10 o'clock last night.
You know my weather report?
Yep.
Not good.
There you go.
Back to you.
Yeah. Again, Ollie, Family Guy. It's raining. Easy enough.
Simple.
Or like I said, crappy.
Effective.
Yeah, it's not good. But Mark will be with us in a bit. So, drive around the SEC. This was expected and happened over the weekend, but the Seattle Seahawks will make Ryan Grubb their offensive coordinator. Who, you may ask? He was with Kalen DeBoer at Washington and had come down with Kalen to become the new OC at Alabama, but there had been whispers that this might happen, and new head coach Mike McDonald has indeed made it official. You know, a lot of us believed, seriously, and I think there was at least some discussion, obviously it was very brief, that Kalen DeBoer would become the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And a lot of people felt like he was ready for that. Again, he's young, very successful. Mike McDonald is young, very successful. But Grubb had just accepted the job a couple of weeks ago, you know, after Kalen had a chance to get his feet wet. So Alabama is now searching for an offensive coordinator, which is interesting. And now, on that note, Kentucky is, this is according to Pete Thamel, and this came out Saturday late afternoon. Kentucky will be looking to hire Bush Hamdan. He is a successful offensive coordinator at Boise State. If you didn't hear, Liam Cohen left last week. And this was also expected for Liam to be leaving to go back into the NFL. Dude needs to make up his mind. You know, and you want NFL or Kentucky. And he's not like doing a college thing. It's like NFL or Kentucky. It's weird.
Kentucky specifically.
I know, right? It's weird. I know you might like Lexington's a fine town. It's pretty up there.
But in some states, you can only get divorced so many times before eventually they're just not going to welcome you back or recognize that you have the position.
But Bush Hamdan, last year, Boise finished number 6 in rushing offense. They won the Mountain West. They were top 30 in the country in total offense, and virtually everybody is back at Boise. So that was kind of, I mean, clearly this is about the money and the opportunity to be in the Southeastern Conference.
You tell me there's more money in the SEC than the Mountain West?
Maybe. But it's interesting now. The reason I bring this up is this somebody, because there are some ties, at least cursorily, to like some of the things Kalen DeBoer does. And this guy has some ties to Chris Peterson and things like that. Now, he didn't work with Kalen at UW, but like Alabama likes to run the ball and they like to be physical and things like that. You know, I wonder if this is somebody that Kalen would be interested in. You need to find somebody who, like Grubb, is going to help you continue to develop Jalen Milroe. Jalen finished 6th in the Heisman vote. I think, 4 guys in front of him will be leaving for the National Football League.
if not all 5 of the guys in front of him, actually. Trying to think. Yeah, all 5, because Harrison was one of them. So, yeah, so everybody.
Quarterbacks plus Marv.
So, in terms of returning Heisman vote earners, Jalen Milroe is number 1 on the list for those coming back into college. Point being, he's good. He's got room for growth. Who can you find to help develop? I'm not saying this guy is it, by the way, Bush Hamden. I don't know enough about him other than Boise likes football and they're good at it relative to most Mountain West teams. But that's interesting. So we'll see. But Bama needs somebody. Kentucky's getting somebody. I'm not too worried about who Boise goes and gets.
Boise's probably worried.
Boise might be.
Losing an offensive coordinator on February 12th.
Yeah. But we'll see. But might Bama be interested in the same guy? I hadn't seen that yet. So, and Kalen's keeping it kind of quiet, but he might have his own ideas. Basketball from the weekend. We'll start on Saturday with men's action. Again, Carolina, we talked about them a lot earlier, and we'll get you, by the way, we'll get into plenty more on the Gamecock win over Vandy, but they did beat the Commodores 75-60. I kind of thought this might happen, but not in the manner that it did. Texas A&M really taking it to Tennessee on Saturday night, 85-69 the final. A&M led by 19 at the break. Tennessee came back as best they could, but still actually finished behind A&M for a second-half score as well. Just never could get over the hump. But Buzz really locked him down defensively, and Rick Barnes just didn't have an answer in College Station.
You can't play soft in that arena.
Right.
And that's kind of what Tennessee did. They played really soft. That A&M team doesn't have a ton of basketball talent, I would say, but they play hard.
Right.
Like Anderson Garcia might be one of the hardest playing players in the country and might be one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. And if you don't come in there ready to battle on the boards, you will get that thing kicked out of the arena.
Gamecocks go to College Station in a couple of weeks. That's going to be tough, man. And they're good. They're in. As if things ended today, despite being just 15-8 and 6-4, A&M is considered in. They've got a good strength of schedule. Florida, speaking of taking it to you, took it to Auburn. And again, much like Tennessee, Auburn on the road at the O-Dome, down big at halftime. 42-26 was the first half score. They both scored 39 points in the second half. So Auburn loses that one by 16 points. Alabama went to LSU. They were losing and still came back and found a way to win 109-92. And that's a regulation score.
A whole lot of points.
Yeah. Defense, there was an allergy to defense in that game.
Got to CLA, and I was, having the pregame, grabbing some snacks in the media room, and they had the game on. I saw where it was like 44-42, and I was like, okay, yeah, second half probably, we're probably like 16 minutes left. Nope, there's still 4 minutes to play in the first half.
It's crazy.
That was remarkable.
Bama's good. Arkansas edges Georgia in Fayetteville 78-75. Two teams struggling for it. Arkansas not getting in. Georgia probably just about done. Probably just about done. And State went to Mizzou and continues to cause a lot of pain and heartbreak in Como. 75-51. Again, State is in as we speak. And the marquee matchup was out of conference, actually, much like Carolina-UConn on the women's side. Gonzaga goes to Rupp Arena and was up 10 at the break. Kentucky found a way to take a lead, but the Zags snatched it back, and Gonzaga wins 89-85. At this point, Gonzaga is out, but a win at Rupp is good for you. You'd like it to be great for you, but Kentucky's now lost 3 straight at home.
And you want to guess how many times that's ever happened in the Rupp Arena that we know now as Rupp Arena?
Has it? Maybe
it has not.
Oh.
That trick question. It has not. That answer would be 0. They have never lost 3 straight games at Rupp Arena. They have not lost 3 straight home games since 1966.
Wow. Look, I don't think this loss is like on John Calipari per se. But I get that over the last couple of years, maybe the relationship has just run its course, which happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like for real.
It really, yeah.
It happens.
It really well could.
He's a good coach. He's a great recruiter. And they have all the resources in the world to support a national championship caliber program.
and they will continue to do that, whether it's him or not. Maybe it's just time. It's almost like, well, kind of like Steve Spurrier used to say, after 10 or 12 years, maybe it's just time for the next guy. There are only so many Coach K's to go around, so many Dean Smiths to go around.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen anymore.
And after a year like this, it could be a borderline fireable offense to not be a top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, to not contend for an SEC title with a team with that much talent.
Right.
All those dudes are going to be making a lot of money in the NBA. There's so much talent for you to not be able to just guard a simple ball screen.
I think it's certainly, he's got responsibility. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, like we say, for a lot of sports, at some point, you know what you got to go do as a player. You just have to go do it. And they're not for whatever reasons.
Yeah, it's messy.
So maybe it is. Maybe it's just time. We'll continue the drive around the SEC as the postgame show continues. Welcome back in. Continue with our drive around the SEC for you. Jay and Elijah with you. Again, Mark Kingston coming up in a bit. Speaking of college baseball, very excited tomorrow afternoon on the program around 3:30. Our buddy Aaron Fitt, a longtime national writer covering college baseball for D1Baseball.com, will be with us. Aaron's a great friend of the program, joins us a few times throughout the baseball season, has for many, many years. He'll be giving us a preview of the Gamecocks, the SEC, the national scene, and for the whatever year in a row, industry term.
Efforting.
Yes. I will ask Aaron to give us his national sleeper team.
Ooh,
Give us that team we aren't thinking about that might do something. So looking forward to having Aaron on the program tomorrow, and tomorrow around this time, actually 4:30, so a little before this. The voice of the Gamecocks, Derek Scott, before they leave for Auburn. Big one Wednesday. Big one.
Potentially for first place in the SEC.
It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. And, is Auburn all hacked off after going to Florida and playing poorly? Because they did.
They got run out of that building.
They
that
did.
was ugly.
They played poorly.
Yes. And Florida's not bad.
No, Florida's good.
Not a lot of people, I think, are.
Florida's in. I think if it ends today, Florida's in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would believe so. I think they have a good enough resume, but Florida has some dudes. And when they're knocking down outside shots, which hasn't necessarily been consistent this year, but they can beat just about anybody in that conference. And they're just kind of overlooked in terms of the better, if you were having a discussion at least about the best teams in the league, I think you kind of have to include Florida as that dark horse.
They're good, and they come here next week.
Mm-hmm. That's not a gimme.
No.
At all.
I don't know that there is one left. I think you might have had your last, what I would call kind of gimme. And even that, you got pushed for 20 minutes.
You played your final donkey.
I think so. I mean, LSU comes here. That's probably the best chance. I mean, Carolina has chances to win. Don't get me wrong. But
in terms of percentages, what the highest percentage would be,
I would say it'd be LSU here.
Yeah, that's
right?
fair.
Yeah, I think so. SEC women's basketball yesterday. Again, Carolina hosting Connecticut out of conference, but the Gamecocks not as close as the score might indicate, and won it by 18, 83-65. LSU beat Alabama 85-66. That game was good for a little bit. I actually had that one on before the big game after Carolina had played. Bama gave them a run for a bit, and then they didn't, because the second half, or the third quarter score, LSU 30, Alabama 9.
Yeah, that will cause some separation.
And at that point, it kind of got away from
it.
It
was all fun and games until you had to play the second.
That's right. Until you had to keep playing. If only you could end games at halftime, man. How good would some teams be?
There'd be so.
The Niners would have a trophy.
That's right. Well, multiple.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years.
Vandy wins in Athens 61-55. Auburn goes to Mizzou 70-59. Winners were the Auburn Tigers. Florida on the road at State wins 90-70. That's a big win for Florida, actually, and a bad loss for State, who's already sitting on 20.
Just when you think Mississippi State is in the top 3 conversation of this conference, they will find a way.
And A&M goes to Kentucky 61-44. Winners were the Aggies. One interesting note, because it's probably going to come up again at some point here. So I'm going to step away from the conference. Yesterday, I guess yesterday, right? When did Iowa lose? Yesterday?
They did. Yep.
Yeah, yesterday.
A little before.
Okay, sorry.
They tipped off a little before.
Yeah. Iowa lost at Nebraska yesterday. Caitlin Clark going for the all-time scoring record in women's basketball. 82-79 was the final. And Lisa Bluter is the head coach of Iowa. And yesterday, and I'm not judging here. Yesterday, during a Nebraska post-game opportunity, Coach Bluter was outside in the hallway berating Nebraska officials. This game was in Lincoln. Apparently, they were playing music. How loud and exactly what? I did not see this game, so I've not yet seen these highlights. I've only read about it in 2 different places. They were playing music in the second half during a couple of instances where Iowa was shooting free throws, including 4 free throw opportunities for Caitlin Clark. And I got to say, I think she's on to something there. Somebody will go, oh, we didn't know, or we didn't tell them to. Yeah, but when one foul shot and it happens,
Plausible deniability.
a second one, like in the, if it's a 2-shot foul, but if there's 4, you know what you're doing. And I got to say, that is kind of Bush League, man. I know there's a lot of people who have vilified Caitlin Clark. I think she's really good. I know Carolina fans don't like Iowa from last year, and that's cool. I get it. I mean, that's fine. But you wouldn't want that happening to you, and that's kind of Bush League. So Nebraska should have to own up to that.
And not letting them do that press conference first, because you could overhear on that mic saying, we should be going right now. We have a plane to catch.
Right.
Yeah, and always, the visiting team
Although
always
I have seen a caveat to that said they fly charter, so they're okay. Oh. But nevertheless, there is a protocol.
Point stands. Yeah.
There is a protocol. A couple of protocol things that Nebraska might have broken to win that game. So just something to think about. Hour 3 coming up.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some roadway delays here on this rainy Monday afternoon. We'll go ahead and start off in Lexington County, I-26 eastbound over at St. Andrews Road, exit 106. An accident has 2 left lanes completely blocked. So traffic is almost at a standstill over on I-26 eastbound near St. Andrews Road and exit 106. And the one right lane, is blocked in Lexington County on I-26 eastbound right after the US 21 exit 129. One more here in Richland County, an exit on I-20 eastbound after Broad River Road, exit 65.
It is time for the 5 o'clock headlines here on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell with you. We do want to remind you in about a half hour's time, we are scheduled to be joined live by Gamecock head baseball coach Mark Kingston. Coach and the team practicing today indoors. But the baseball season starts on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
It's already here.
We'll have it for you. I think we're doing a show from Village Idiot on Friday.
Oh.
You know what that means?
Pizza.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Well, I was thinking beer, but yeah, pizza. They sell pizza?
Yeah. Well, allegedly. Yeah.
They got a lot of beer taps down there.
They do.
Pizza.
A lot of good ones.
Pizza.
Can't lose.
Call Brian about that. How long have they been serving pizza? You sure?
I just see the beer taps.
I can hardly remember every time I go to Village Idiot. It's just anyway.
I'm seeing a correlation here.
I'm writing
to
new
your
headlines
memory
here that's probably not good for me. No, we're going to have some fun down at the Idiot on Friday. Anyway, Coach will be with us coming up in just a little bit. We've got the Super Bowl to talk about, obviously, but first we'll start locally with two big wins for Gamecock basketball over the weekend. The men on Saturday afternoon against Vandy, and Dawn Staley's #1 Gamecocks beating Connecticut yesterday. The men beat Vandy 75-60. This after being down 4 points at halftime. Vandy was really, in my estimation, Elijah, and I'd like your take, they were kind of South Carolina-ing South Carolina in the first half, wearing down possessions, waiting for the good shot, making said good shot, and felt good about themselves after 20 minutes.
And they should have. And they did one thing on offense that not a lot of teams have been able to do, and that's separate South Carolina defender from chesting the ball. They got him in pick-and-roll situations that they understood exactly, how, I guess, I don't want to say, like, soft, but they don't. South Carolina doesn't, attack ball screens traditionally. They have a couple ball screen coverages, but they're usually not overly aggressive on those. And Vanderbilt took advantage of it. And then the second half, South Carolina made a little bit of an adjustment, got a little more aggressive on those, and had their players stay in front of Vanderbilt a hell of a lot better than that first half. And I think that's really what changed the game between, half 1 and 2.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the cut 8 that we have on our list was a question that was asked by one Elijah Campbell to
Yours truly,
Coach Lamont Paris. Why don't we hear more of why the game changed in the second 20 minutes?
Aggressive on the ball screen in the second half. I mean, we have a couple different ball screen coverages. That one, for all the pluses of one, there are some downsides to it too. But one plus of that aggressive one is that it gets us moving. I mean, if we get into that aggressive ball screen coverage and there's no backside protection, then it's going to be a layup fest. So it makes people from the backside get off of the ball, attack. It puts us in a more aggressive mode defensively. So I thought that was a big part of it. But there were just so many other things. Zach Davis, on 2 specific occasions, as I'm watching on the other end in front of their bench, there's a stagger screen come in, and they're aggressive screeners and strong. And he dips his shoulder and gets around him, whereas in the first half he was hugging those screens, and you could time it with a sundial for him to get around the screen. We talk a lot about you can get screened. That's what teams are going to do, but you can't stay screened. And Zach did a much, much, much better job in the second half, and some other guys too, of trying to avoid screens once contact was made, being persistent about chasing the ball down so that you would get there and there wouldn't be shots. So I just thought, in general, the ball screen, it was probably easier to see in the ball screen coverage, but there was some stuff off the ball also that we were doing just significantly better in terms of effort, energy, alertness, commitment to a couple of basic principles.
We'll have more from Coach Paris on Colin Murray-Boyle's big afternoon as well, at least for the young man's still relatively new career, a career day. But there may be more in the offing for CMB coming up here, but we'll have more on that for you coming up in just a little bit. Carolina improves to 21-3, 9-2 now in conference play. And if you have not heard, South Carolina up 4 spots to number 11 in the men's basketball poll. I guess last week, too, was the highest they had been ranked since 1998. So this continues that trend. But they hit number 5 in 1998, a year they were a 3 seed.
So they already reached that milestone, but like Creed, they asked, "Can you take me higher?" and the pollsters did. They obliged.
Well, this time Seth Davis actually put them in his poll,
and that will help a little bit.
And he put them at 13. You and I were kind of joking that Seth could have put him at 25 and said, "Here, Gamecock fans, I ranked him."
You happy?
But he put him at 13.
And for the first time, South Carolina is ranked on all AP voter ballots.
Yeah, how about that?
The first time.
Yeah, because 3 last week left him off, including Seth?
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Seth was not the only one.
That's right. It's, just win your games, man. That's what I'm going to keep telling fans. Win your games. Win your games. And Dawn Staley tells her team that. And you know what they do?
They win a lot of games.
They win their games. Was it
comfortably
56 straight at home, I think? And now their 4th win over Connecticut. The Dawn's team improves to 23-0 overall. UConn slipping to 20-5. And here's Dawn, about a minute-long cut on the recent success against Connecticut and what that's done for the Gamecocks.
I mean, it's hard. You have to thank UConn because for the first part of our home and home, they got nothing out of it besides, another blowout. And then they continue the home and home, and it allowed us to grow as a program, to measure and to stack ourselves up against who they are. And it doesn't happen without that commitment, that we're gonna keep playing you mentality. And I thank Gino for continuing to play us, because you don't. He's helped us grow. His program has helped our program grow, and that's what you want. And I hope we're helping other programs grow in the same manner.
I think that last point is one that I took when I was watching Dawn in postgame yesterday. Paying it forward. She does a lot of that, scheduling NC State and who's beaten South Carolina, Maryland. I think she is, Gino, like Pat Summitt before him, my opinion here, Gino struggled sometimes with, you don't play anybody. And there's not enough good teams. Pat, God bless her, I mean, she recruited half the dadgum Olympic team. But there wasn't a lot of competition. And I think at some point, coaches do understand that. They do. I mean, coaches are competitors, and while you would love to go out and, like Dawn said there, all he got in the first few games was another blowout because that's how good they were. But she's spot on. I mean, without it, do you get some of the recognition? Do you get in, even for someone like Dawn Staley, who, as I've said many times, in my opinion, at least when she was coming up, was the Magic Johnson of women's basketball in this country, and she was. Do you get into homes around the country? I don't know, but you get on TV. Oh, all right. Yeah, let's talk and look at where they are. And now, again, paying it forward is a big deal. And look, UConn's got girls that are out. Paige Becker's had a Paige Becker's day.
8 for 20, but she got hers.
She got hers. I mean, she's going to get 20, right?
Aaliyah Edwards had maybe one of the quietest 2011 games.
Right.
20 and 11, I should say.
Yeah.
That you could ever have.
South Carolina just too deep with UConn's injuries. I'd love to see these two go at it full strength. I still think South Carolina wins, but
same.
A big opportunity. And again, Camila Cardoso was with the Brazilian national team. Sadly, they will not qualify for the Olympics. Camila played well in her games, but the Australians too strong for everybody in their qualifying group. And Australia, it looks like they're moving on.
Yeah, they have that number 3 FIBA ranking for a reason. They can hoop.
But Gamecocks are at Tennessee on Thursday night.
And that will be one of the tougher tests they have in the regular season.
Yeah, not sure. Dawn will probably let us know. She's got Carolina calls with Brad tomorrow night.
It's 6 o'clock right here in the game.
And
plug.
Nice. She'll probably let us know. If she doesn't know, let us know beforehand. You'll probably find out tomorrow night what Camilla's role might be Thursday in Knoxville. Because I'm not sure the travel and all that. Brazil's a long way away. I don't even know where they were playing. Were they playing down there?
Mm-hmm. They were playing in Brazil. Brazil
okay.
was hosting it.
Okay. Because I know the United States went over to Europe.
Yeah, there are different places. I guess, the United States was in Belgium, I think. Yeah. So there was a lot of travel involved, but Brazil got to host. And unfortunately for them, it did not help them a ton.
But glad, listen, Camilla did what she could. And Carolina won the 2 games without her by a combined 56 points. So, yeah.
Always good back at home.
It's okay when she gets back to Columbia, South Carolina. And, of course, the Super Bowl last night in Vegas. A hell of a game. Ugly at times. I said, let me read my tweet because I know it didn't make sense the way I wanted it to in my head. I know I was trying to say something else, but here's what I said, if I can get to it here.
I got the message.
Thank you. I said that was probably the ugliest, most kick-ass game I've ever seen, and a whole extra quarter of it, too. Good stuff. Congrats to the Chiefs. Mahomes is the man. But that's what I meant. Like, it was because it was ugly, and the defenses made it ugly. I don't know if the week off does or does not contribute to that. You could probably make a case on either side.
I think those two defenses are that high.
That's
level.
what I thought.
Yeah,
that's what
there was a lot of high-level defense being played, and I thought Wilkes and Spagnuolo were having an absolute duel in that first half.
And I think Brock Purdy played well.
He did. I don't think he had a bad game at all.
Yeah,
he was really good.
I think some were saying, and look, there may be some things that you saw in him that, like checkdowns and a few things I heard some people talking about in post game, and sometimes that's what comes with time and experience and things that Mahomes is doing that not everybody else can do yet. But I thought he played well. I told you and Tyler this earlier at the end of Tyler's show. And this is just my opinion, and I'm a novice relative to some. Maybe not a novice, but I'm certainly no expert, right? But I felt like Kyle Shanahan was just calling the next play, at least in large stretches of the second half, that he wasn't like dialed into what – and I agree with Romo. Man, CMAC is running well. Run the ball. And they give that up a little bit. Now, he gets tired, and I know he's always banged up. I say always, but I get that. But I felt like, Kyle thinks, they know he's going to run. I got to do something else.
Well, McCaffrey did almost have 30 touches in the game. That's a lot of touches.
Yeah,
they did use him a lot.
And I think one of the things that was interesting, too, Kittle is apparently more hurt than was let on. I think that's why he wasn't getting targeted either.
Mm-hmm. That would make sense.
I mean, he had 4. He had what? Did he have just the one?
He had 2 catches for 4 yards.
4 yards total. 2 catches for 4 yards on 3 targets.
And did have like a 15-yard or like a 10-yard reception wiped away by penalty in the first quarter.
That's right. But that shoulder, and then you saw him run off late.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not there. Ayuk was he only had 3. Debo had 3 catches, and Debo had 3 carries. Debo also, you could tell there was a couple of times when he was hurting.
Yeah.
Because Debo's body language can sometimes show itself. And that's not a judgment. That's an observation on what was. But I thought Purdy overall was good. 23 of 38, 255. He was not intercepted. I thought the Mahomes interception, by the way, was dreadful.
Yeah, that was not. That was one of the few times all playoffs where he was forcing a play.
Yeah, but
and not really giving or taking what was given to him.
And the Niners got to him 3 times in terms of sacks, but he got pressured a few other times. But overall, 34 of 46, 333, 2 scores. Obviously, the game winner at the end. And if you missed it, I'm not going to do it again. But I didn't go on a rant in the second hour. You wouldn't call it a rant, would you?
No.
But I did get on my soapbox. but I didn't rant like I do sometimes. But the overtime rules, again, why do you have two sets of overtime or one regular season, one postseason? And both of them are stupid anyway. That's my thing.
They're equally stupid.
I'd like you to pick one, but they're both dumb. So either one you choose, they don't make sense, man. Again, I want football to be like basketball. Set a clock, play the game.
More dunks.
Play the sport. Yes, exactly. I want the Harlem Globetrotters to come out.
I need someone taking snaps on a unicycle.
Red Panda at halftime.
You have to be juggling.
Just set the clock, play the game. All right, that's the headlines. We'll get into more on Carolina hoops as the postgame show continues.
Michi from deep. Left side three. That comes up short. Offensive rebound. Who else? Murray Boyles. Stick back. He is killing the Commodores. Colin Murray Boyles leading the charge for the Gamecocks. He's got 20.
That was 20. He got 11 more. Heck of a day for the young man from Cardinal Newman. Colin Murray Boyles finished with
AC
30.
Flora.
Or AC Flora, excuse me. I'm thinking
Ashland
of Ashland
Watkins,
Watkins at Cardinal Newman. Sorry, AC Flora.
Too many local stars.
I knew
Can we
that.
quit
I knew that.
producing great basketball
Yeah,
players.
because I got lots of, I will get, yes, thank you. He went to Flora. She went to Cardinal Newman. But Colin finishes 31 points in 31 minutes, 14 of 17. And as you heard there, a putback for him. 6 of his 7 rebounds were offensive rebounds. That is a nearly unheard of ratio.
Mm-hmm. And about 3 of those maybe were absolute theft, just getting us just knocking a Vanderbilt player off their block, getting the rebound by just taking it from them, and using the stupid cliche of he wanted it more. Well, it seemed like he did. Those were grown man rebounds.
But big night for him. 2 assists, a steal, and a block to go along as well. And again, just 2 fouls in there. Tremendous performance. Obviously, scoring-wise, a career high. And we talked about it. The kid just does so much. I want you to hear his head coach first. Then we're going to hear more from Colin himself. But cut 7 first here, please, Elijah. About a minute or so from Lamont Paris on the big night for Colin Murray Boyles.
I mean, I said this the last time, that his ceiling is unbelievably high. And so obviously that doesn't always translate to what the box score looks like. He had 31. Maybe that'll ultimately one day be his career high. But just as in terms of evolving as a player, it's amazing to see and how much more room there is for him to grow as a basketball player. It's amazing. He's got unbelievable energy. Then you combine that with tremendous athleticism, and then his instincts on both sides of the ball are way ahead of the curve on just his natural basketball instincts. So on those 3 things alone, forget any basketball skill, the ability to attack and pass and play off the dribble, the ability to shoot from the perimeter, forget anything else. He's got incredible touch. You saw that. Some of the finishes were, he's on the move, he got bumped and fouled, and he's still able to finish even though his body was contorted a little bit. And his tremendous hand-eye coordination. He's just, I don't want to sit here and talk all about Colin. We had some other good performances, but his ceiling is incredibly high as I see it.
Agreed. And again, it kind of goes from don't let some other school come in here and take notice, do what you got to do, to now, is the NBA going to take notice? And the answer is going to be yes. What's next year look like? I don't know. Let's enjoy the rest of this one. But in this day and age, and I think Lamont was asked about that and sort of alluded to it, in this day and age, you got to be prepared for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you would have asked us a month ago if Colin Murray Boyles' NBA draft discussion, obviously he's not going to be a lottery pick, or even if he declared, I don't even know if he gets selected now, but his game translates to the pro game pretty well. I mean, you can watch an NBA game, watch a college game, and sometimes it can be completely different sports, it would feel like, but his game carries over because of how much good stuff he does with the ball in his hands, even when it's not, especially on the defensive side of the floor. He's got a lot of stuff that you just can't teach someone.
On his performance, cut 13, Elijah. This is Colin Murray Boyles on 31 points on Saturday afternoon.
Nah, I don't really have no target. I just play to play, just doing. I was in the right spots. My teammates got me the ball. That wasn't just me. That was my teammates making reads, and then my coaches, Coach Paris and them, calling out plays for me to get open sometimes. And then I found my open teammate sometimes. He wasn't hitting that much, but we picked it up in the second half. So, it all just fell into place, which was good.
Which is good.
I agree.
Again, South Carolina continues to prove as well how well they distribute the basketball, and not just with the scoring. I mean, again, there was a couple of possessions. You and I were talking this morning, Elijah. That just I joke when I say this, of course, that would like John Wooden would cry a happy tear. Just the ball movement, the ball not touching the floor, find the open man, get the open look, work the defense. The fundamentals are strong with that team.
I like to imagine it like, the last scene in Return of the Jedi where, there's Obi-Wan and Yoda. They're all looking above, watching, smiling happily. That, there are a couple possessions where James Naismith, Fog Allen, and John Wooden, kind of had the smile as they're watching, from above, because there's some beautiful basketball.
There was, man.
That can be played.
It was a nice win. And again, Vandy, give Stack and Vandy credit. They played well. They played hard. You and I were talking about them. Vandy have given Alabama their only really tight game of the year, other than their losses. Now, Bama's lost to Tennessee and to Auburn, but in virtually every other game, Bama doesn't just win; they win comfortably. I think there might even be only one single-digit win other than that Vandy game. So my point is, Vandy's a pretty good basketball team, and they were kind of doing to Carolina what Carolina does to people. Carolina just got better at it in the second half.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's problems are a lot of talent acquisition related.
Sure,
those kids play hard. They're just. Some of them aren't SEC basketball.
What are my three favorite words around here?
More, better, pizza. Players. Sorry, I'm really hungry, but
whatever it takes.
But yeah,
no,
that's good too.
You need the players, man.
Yep,
it's college sports. I will always remind people. May he rest in peace. The late great Dan Reeves. We had Coach Reeves on about a year before he died, but it was the last time we had him on. It was right when Shane got hired, and we were mostly talking NFL. But since Dan went here, we would talk Gamecock football sometimes, and I just said, Coach, you got any advice for your new head coach here at your alma mater? And in that Georgia accent, he's like, yeah, tell him to go get him some players. This is college football. I was like, all right.
Okay. Yeah.
So there you go.
How can you argue with that?
That's it. It's that simple. And it translates to other college sports.
Yeah.
Gamecocks back at it on Wednesday night at Auburn. Number 13 in the country are the Auburn Tigers. Number 11, again, are the South Carolina Gamecocks. Derek Scott and Judge Manning on the call Wednesday at 8 here on the station. And, again, Derek will be with Elijah and me tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we'll talk to Aaron Fitt about college baseball, and we'll focus a lot on the South Carolina Gamecocks. And in a few minutes, we're going to focus on the South Carolina Gamecocks with the head coach of the program. He is Mark Kingston, and he's scheduled to be with us as the postgame show continues.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of accidents to report to you. Might be causing you some roadway delays this Monday afternoon. We'll start in Lexington County. An accident has the right lane completely blocked over on I-26 eastbound after the US 21 exit 129. So traffic moving very slowly through there due to an accident. In Richland County, an accident has recently been reported at Bookman Road near Nature Trail, so traffic moving pretty slowly through there. Another one in Richland County, I-77 northbound at US 21 exit 24. An accident's been reported, so traffic's moving pretty slowly. And the good news, we have an accident cleared in Lexington County. I-26 eastbound at St. Andrews Road, exit 106 is now moving much smoothly through there.
And it is, let's call it a bonus drive around the SEC time here on the Monday edition of the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Happy to be joined now on the guest line by someone who will probably already regret the fact that he's agreed to be on this show every week during the course of the season. He is the head baseball coach at the University of South Carolina, one Mark Kingston. Happy season week. You don't regret it yet, do you?
No, not yet. Well, time will tell. So we'll start this thing with an open mind, Jay, and we'll see if you've gotten better since last year, like hopefully we have.
Well, I do what I can to improve every day, Coach, but
Can't wait to disappoint.
Yeah, sadly, there's a big void there at some point in time. Let's get into it. Last year, obviously, things picked up. You got to the Supers. I know you didn't like what happened down in Gainesville, but you had already beaten that Florida team. You know you're going toe-to-toe with a lot of these guys. You got a heck of a core coming back. Obviously, transfers make things different all across college athletics. But in terms of what you're building upon, whether it's the guys that are coming back for you or the kids that are coming in, what's the message? What's the attitude right now?
Well, the attitude is it's a new season. It's a new team. There are a lot of holdovers since last year, obviously, and some really, really good ones. But it's a new season. So we'll have guys with different roles. We'll have new guys step up. And so there's the excitement to see who has gotten better and who's going to take another step in their career and in their improvement. And then it's exciting to see which of the new guys will step in and become Gamecock names that people don't know about now, but by the end of the season, everybody will know, kind of like a James Hicks did last year, or Messina and Petrie came on the scene last year. So that's always the exciting part, and just getting ready to get after the season, and it's this week. So we've worked really hard for a long time, and now we're ready to just go play some ball.
Is it fair to say that this lineup is primarily built around Ethan Petrie? Am I overstating his importance and what he did to you last year? I mean, you got 9 guys that need to hit. He's just one of them, but clearly someone who has caught everyone's attention.
Well, I think he's obviously a very big piece of the puzzle, but Cole Messina is also a first-team All-American, so I think you say those two guys anchor our lineup, and not more one than the other. I think they're both superstars in college baseball. I think they're both going to have great pro careers, and so I think you would say that it's a duo, and everything kind of works around them, both in the table setters and the guys that will hit behind them to protect them. I think you're looking at a two-headed monster there, but I also think we're going to have pretty darn good offensive depth, 1 through 9, even more so than we had last year. So that's what we're really excited about.
Got Coach Mark Kingston on the line with us right now. And Mark, you alluded earlier to maybe getting some young guys, some newcomers who could burst onto the scene and really help you out early. Who are some guys that are newer to the team now over the offseason that really got to impress you?
Well, the newer players, I think you're looking at Tyler Causey and Ryan Bakes from an offensive standpoint, probably have been the biggest impact so far. Obviously, we haven't played a real game yet, but those two guys have really had great falls and springs for us. Bakes right now is a freshman out of Chicago, is leading our team in home runs so far this spring. And Tyler Causey is right behind him. So I'd say those are the two offensive pieces that you're looking at of the newcomers that have had the most impact. On the mound, Garrett Gainey has been really good. We've had some younger pitchers, the Eddie Coppers of the world, Tyler Pitzer, some guys that we think are going to really help us as well. So there's a number of guys that we think, that will be newer names that help impact us and help us win games.
Coach, when it comes to offensive approach right now, I mean, you guys can hit a lot of home runs. Are there wrinkles? Like last year, you got 58 out of 70, and you held your opponents to a lot less than that when it comes to steals. Are there things you'd like to do more on the base paths, things we can look at that are maybe tweaks to get things going a little differently this year?
Well, we were middle of the pack, from a stolen base standpoint, and so I wouldn't say we were great, and I wouldn't say we were below average either. I think you're right there in the middle. It's harder to steal bases than it's ever been because most pitchers now are fairly quick to the plate. People know how to control the running game. So I wouldn't think you'd see any major drastic changes from last year in terms of how we run. Brewer can steal bases, Tippett can steal bases, and I would say most of the other guys, you need to kind of pick your spots based on counts, based on who the pitcher is and how fast he is to the plate, based on the catcher and his arm strength. So I'd say it would probably be similar. You can't just all of a sudden say, let's steal more bases. If Ethan Petrie and Gavin Costas and those type guys are in your lineup, you play with what you have. So you want balance. When all is said and done, you want left-right balance and you want speed-power balance. So I still think we will lean more towards the power just because that's the makeup of our personnel.
Mark, looking at the early part of the schedule, the non-conference slate right now, and it poses a couple of interesting challenges. But what are you looking forward to in the early part of the season? And what challenges do those present to you and your team?
Well, I'm anxious to see our team play where it's our entire team is one playing against somebody else. We've been doing nothing but inter squads, so your team is split up, your pitchers are split up, your defenses are split up. So I'm anxious to see us all together as one and see what that looks like. And then the challenges early on will be just to try to figure out roles for your pitchers, who are going to be starters, who are going to be relievers, who are your high leverage guys, who are your closers, outside of assuming Chris Beach will be able to be that again for us. Lineup wise, we have more than 9 guys that could start. I would say it's closer to 12 or 13. So it's a matter of managing that and how do we get guys at bats to see how they look in real games. But I would say all those things, again, just trying to figure out your team. No team is the same in May as they are in February, and that includes us. We'll have a little different look to us, I would think, later in the season than we do early in the season because with the transfer portal, you're still trying to figure out exactly what you have.
Mark, we'll talk about some pitchers in a second, but I'd like to get your quick assessment now that you've had several months of working with Coach Matt Williams, who you hired last summer to work with these guys. What's that been like? How different, if at all, really? I mean, it's going to be different, of course, but is his approach to what your philosophy is when it comes to pitchers and now that that's been blended in over the course of fall ball and here in January, February?
No, Matt's doing a nice job. I think he's kind of hit the ground running. I've seen him help a lot of our pitchers get better and improve, and so that's exciting to see. At the end of the day, that's what a coach's job is to provide ways to help players improve and get better, and I think he's done really well with that. He's blended into our coaching staff very well, and he like all pitching coaches, he's very protective of his pitchers. He works really hard at helping them to develop through video study, through analytics, through long toss programs, through velocity enhancement programs, and then just being with them every single day in the bullpen. So I think he's done a really nice job and anxious to see him once the season starts as well.
Let's get into that then, the rotation. How close are you guys? I imagine you know who you have, at least for this weekend. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but I'm going to press you on it anyway. But you like Friday, Saturday, Sunday thus far?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got guys that will be able to get the job done. Not ready to announce it yet, but I can respect the effort of trying to get me to say that. But we're not ready quite to release that yet. But we'll release it probably, I would say, in the next day or two. and then we'll just kind of go from there. But yeah, I think we have some names that people don't know about yet, but as things fall right with them, there'll be guys that can have really good seasons.
And a follow-up then is the other roles, obviously. I mean, you're not ready for midweek yet, but closer, that kind of thing, all those as well falling into place, even if there's no names?
Yeah, I would say so. But by the same token, you just want to see how guys are when they turn the lights on for real and they start charging admissions, because some guys are better in practice than they are in games and vice versa. Last year at this time, we really didn't know what we had in Chris Veach, but when he got out there with the game on the line, you could see that it made him that much better. Some guys are better in practice when the pressure is low. So those are the things we need to figure out as we go into the season. You try to learn as much as you can early on, put guys in positions so that by the time you get to conference play, you have a good feeling for where everybody slots in.
Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, game one, Miami of Ohio. The season is upon us. I'll leave you with this, and I'll tell the audience, because, Mark, since the last time we've done this, which we do regularly, and we very much appreciate it, I'm very serious about that. Mark and I do like to talk a lot about our affinity for classic rock and roll. I did see today, good news, bad news, Coach. Good news, AC/DC is going back on tour this summer. Bad news, it is a European tour, but would you like to try and see if we can get tickets to Wembley Stadium in July?
No, Jay, I'm probably going to disappoint you, but I would have no interest in seeing AC/DC, even if they were in Colombia. They are not on my list of groups that I would make an effort to go see. Right. So I'm sure that probably disappoints you.
It does a little bit. It does, actually.
I've got to shoot you straight.
Okay. Well, that's good. I appreciate that, if nothing else. By the way, you may not know this, but Tony Annan has told the story on this very program before. He once dated Brian Johnson's daughter.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He met Brian.
Yeah, there.
Apparently it took like 30 seconds, and that was it. So there's that. So you can ask Tony about that. Hey, always appreciate you. Thank you for the time, and we will do it again next week. Best of luck this weekend, sir, and again, go get them.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
That is Gamecock head baseball coach Mark Kingston. Yeah, I feel a little dejected.
How polarizing do you think AC/DC actually is amongst people that are still really into classic rock?
I don't know.
I'm indifferent on them. Like they're not my favorite.
Yeah, they're not my favorite
classic rock band. They're a
not
good
my
one. They have a couple hits that I have thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I'm not deep diving.
I never thought of them as polarizing, but anyway.
I know some people that hate them.
I'll let you do the entire Kingston interview next Monday. Well, I get over this.
You're done. We thought we were worried about Mark regretting it. I think you're regretting it now.
Who should you bet on to win the Super Bowl next year? I'll tell you as the postgame show continues. 11 minutes in front of 6 o'clock here on a Monday. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the Postgame Show. Thanks again to Coach Mark Kingston for joining us. I got over it. I'm good.
After you were, seething during the break.
I'm good.
Some breathing exercises.
Well, the engineers are going to have to come in here and fix a few things.
Yeah, good thing the camera doesn't show all of the studio right now. It's a mess.
If y'all missed it, I was proposing that Mark Kingston and I could maybe get tickets to see AC/DC in London because we're classic rock fans. Mark's a big Kiss fan. I was a big Kiss fan. I still like Kiss. I mean, Kiss is good. But we like other bands, too. Don't get me wrong.
But he does not like AC/DC.
He doesn't like AC/DC. That kind of hurt a little bit.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Yeah. Didn't see that one coming.
Need to compile a list. That's a good summer assignment for us. So we have to compile a list of classic rock bands.
All right. From him, you mean?
Him as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We all do top 10s, and we'll see exactly what how much commonality we got.
Wow.
You got to narrow it down to 10.
That's hard. Well, I don't know. It might not be, actually. Zeppelin's at the top, and then we'll figure the rest of it out.
Yeah, see, like I know my one, and then I can fill it out from there.
Before we get on the phone, and man, Justin might be throwing things too, based on what Elijah's telling me.
Yeah, 49er fan. My condolences.
Speaking of which, I haven't heard from Haney or Cloninger today.
I did tweet thoughts and prayers at David Cloninger.
Yeah, that's nice of you.
Yeah, so let him know I was thinking.
I did not. I just
rough time.
I left it alone. Haney too. But I feel good. I did. I won the wild card showdown for the first time all season. You know what I did?
You had a banger.
I went 5-0, man.
Look at that. An undefeated week. That's called ending your season with a bang.
Terry went 4-1. Elijah went 3-2. Tyler went 2-3. And our listeners, Noah and Ken, also each went 2-3. But we were in a giving mood for the big game. And so Noah beat Ken on the tiebreaker. And Noah, we will be in touch. You have a $50 gift certificate to O'Hara's out in Lexington and tickets to all 3 Carolina baseball games this weekend. So congratulations, Noah.
Well done.
Ken, sorry. It was close. Noah guessed 190 yards to Ken's 195 on combined receiving yards for Kittle and Kelsey. The answer was only 97. And Travis had 93 of those.
And 92 of those 93 were in the second half.
Yeah. But I finished out 5-0, man. Wow.
That's how you do it.
Woo.
That is, you know what?
That's why I'm in a good mood now. Instead of that's why I really.
You played your best ball late, and that's really all we can ask.
That's right. And again, hang on, Justin. The 49ers. This might make him feel better, but not really. The 49ers currently, according to BetMGM, are plus 500 to win the Super Bowl. That's the best odds. Just behind them are the Kansas City Chiefs at plus 700. Ravens at plus 850 and the Bills at plus 1,200. If you don't know how that one works, at least I do. You bet $100. That's what you would win.
What about the Panthers?
I was going to say, well, you kind of
really high on the list.
you kind of. I don't want to say you blew it here, but I was going to ask you, would you like to know who's last?
You know, I guess much to the surprise of absolutely no one, the Carolina Panthers.
Plus 25,000.
Ooh.
But would you like to know who's next to last?
Ooh. Would that be...
Because there may be something here that's like that's a plot twist.
The Bears?
The New England Patriots.
Okay, that makes sense.
Plus 20,000.
Wow.
31st on the list. Just behind the Commanders at plus 15,000, which is actually where the Titans and Giants are as well.
The Titans are that low. Interesting.
Yeah. My Broncos, I might do this, man. I might throw 100 down. Broncos at plus 10,000. Why not?
You win some good money that way.
Why not? Yeah, I'll take everybody out to dinner in Vegas.
That's right. Wouldn't be wasting money at all.
All right, Justin, you got the final word here, man. How you doing?
Doing good, guys. How about y'all?
Doing well. Doing well.
Hey, guys, it was a tough day yesterday, today. I love my 49ers, but, man, we're getting so close. It's hard to break this hump, you know?
Well, yeah, I get it, buddy. And a lot of fans are feeling that way. You know, Kyle Shanahan is he's a terrific coach. I like what Purdy's doing. You got C-Mac. I was joking yesterday with some people that Christian McCaffrey was basically freed from prison to go do what he's doing, man. You know, I'm happy for him.
As an English soccer fan, it's like when a guy who's really good that plays for like Burnley is bought and sent to, Arsenal or Manchester
Chelsea.
City or
Just to play for somebody.
or Liverpool.
Yeah.
You like, this is what it feels like. Like there's not a direct equivalent in America, but when Christian McCaffrey went from the Panthers to the 49ers, is a big deal.
That was like the Panthers' good deed of the year.
So, Justin, it might help a little bit, but at least going into the year for now, the 49ers are still seen as the best team in football. Take that for what it is. We'll see. Aaron Fitt talking college baseball tomorrow. Derek Scott on Carolina basketball and a whole lot more. Thanks again to Mark Kingston. For Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you all being with us. We'll do it again tomorrow. See you. And one final note, and that's about our great friends at AAA Heating and Air. We're in one of those weeks, y'all, up and down, all over the thermostat and all over the thermometer outside. That's the Midlands for you. AAA Heating and Air, though, is your year-round ally against changing weather patterns. And if it's time for a new system in your home, start with a free replacement estimate from AAA. Just log on to callAAAtoday.com. That's callAAAtoday.com. Just punch in a few quick facts, and they will let you know exactly what a new system will cost you. Or you can call them. They love talking to people, too, I promise. 803-677-1500. And what's more, their 15-year parts and labor warranty speaks volumes of their trust in their service, the equipment they sell, and the people that are working behind it. They are in it for the long haul, just like their warranties. Great at my house. They'll be great at yours. Stay comfortable all year long when you call AAA Heating and Air.